All right, this is the opening of Norton Conservation Commission public meeting for Monday, November 25th. It is now 6:30, and as we are obligated, because this is a remote meeting, we need to read a preamble. And Dan, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're
I'm blurry. I'll
you are
change
blurred.
that.
But you can go ahead with the preamble if you have it.
Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 bill extending several COVID-era policies and programs by allowing virtual meetings to continue from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025, this meeting of the Norton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the end of this agenda. Members of the public
Dan, can you hear us? Because we can't hear you all of a sudden. But I will continue. As members of the public attending this public hearing / meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'll just finish out that paragraph. We can. Can you hear us?
Oh, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
But I think there's a button that says.
All right. Well, Dan, can you hear me?
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Do you want me to finish it?
No, I'm going to finish it. All right.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay, I'm going to finish.
I can. Can you hear me?
Dan, let's just hold off on let Julian finish.
All right.
Yes, I can hear you. Do
members of the public attending this public hearing?
Again?
No,
I mean,
Dan, come in, please. There we go.
Go ahead, Julian. I just muted Dan for a second.
Okay,
so you can
members of the public attending this public hearing / meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the public hearing designated for public comment by raising their hand virtually or pressing *9 if participating by phone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Norton Cable website, which is https://www.nortonmediacenter.org, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Attending our meeting tonight is myself, Julian Kadish, Chair, Lisa Carrozza, Vice Chair, Dan Pearson, Clerk, and we have Mark Fernandez, Paxton Halsell, Joe Carvalho, and unfortunately, it looks like Tom Avest was unable to attend tonight.
I'm here.
She's
Oh,
here.
there you are. Okay, in the confusion. So we have a full board, and we have John Thomas, our director, and Megan Harrop, our assistant. So first item is review of draft minutes of October 28th. And the only thing I am requesting on the minutes that I printed, it's really very difficult to determined that they are minutes. So, the way it's presented. So what I would like is the headline or the first line where it says Norton Conservation Commission public meeting notice, that it just say Norton Conservation Commission meeting minutes.
Okay, I can do that.
And then just to reduce ambiguity, where it says agenda, just add after it agenda for October 28th, 2024.
Okay.
And that should reduce any ambiguity. And other than that, I have no other comments. Anyone have any comments on these minutes?
You know, if we want to streamline them even further, I don't know that we really need to regurgitate the public meeting announcement at the beginning, but just a suggestion.
You talking about on the minutes?
Okay, I can do that.
I think we just state that it was read, that Dan read the, whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
In this case, for the next set of minutes, it's going to be Julian and Dan. So,
Yep. Okay.
that was a production, yes.
That's all I had.
Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for October 28th, 2024 as discussed.
Second.
We have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Paxton. Roll call vote, starting with Mark and Lisa,
Aye.
Aye.
Joe and Paxton and Tama.
Aye.
Aye.
And Dan? And I'll throw in an aye. So the motion carries. Next item is enforcement orders, beginning with the YMCA billboard issue. You want to comment on that, John?
I think Lee and Mark are here today. I think Mark, you want to go overview of what you guys did in discussions that we talked about?
Good thing. Hi, everyone. Mark Mariano with Oak Hill Engineering, 75 Oak Hill Ave, Seekonk, Mass. We were engaged to delineate the edge of the area that was previously approved on a 2012 conservation submission for an area that was subject to be able to be maintained within a jurisdictional area. So we went out there, we surveyed, and we located and then set markers to delineate the area that was approved in 2012. The markers that were set, we actually used red delineators you would see on the edge of a highway. We figured this would be the best solution rather than putting metal rods in the ground. We did shoot them also with our GPS unit, so whatever reason, if vandals ever take them away, we can easily reset them because we have them on the mass grid coordinate system now. And we also produced a small little plan showing where the markers were set, and we furnished that to Norton, to John.
All right, so John, does that address the issue that we had?
So it addresses knowing where the limit of the maintenance corridor is physically out in the field. But, moving forward, my recommendation was that, this kind of get ironed out and closed out because, this is a perpetual condition permit with Clear Channel. And I've had some discussions, with the applicant's representative on, I guess, these perpetual conditions, because it's kind of a tricky situation because there's a third party involved with this maintenance work, and obviously the applicant's I guess, billboard partner did not contact them before engaging in this work. So I think as such, we should kind of put a little bit more responsibility on the Clear Channel folks to close out this permit and file for a new one in order for them to, I guess, re-up their permit. Because from what I gather from this is, I don't know if this is going to fix the situation with them contacting us in the future. I haven't heard anything from them. So that's also another concern. I met with them and they haven't reached out since. They said they were going to, but they haven't. So I'm a little hesitant on, allowing this to be resolved for this. I think it's probably best to close out this permit and have Clear Channel come in front of us for another permit.
Didn't we ask them to attend tonight's meeting so we could all be on the same page? I think I requested that at the last hearing.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
why I say obviously the YMCA is the landowner. So they should have the ability to close out this permit if they choose so. And then Clear Channel can, if they want to file a new permit with the YMCA's involvement, they can do so. But I think that, from my perspective is that, there's a lot of parties involved with this. And, the Y can, request that they be here. And if they don't come here, then I just don't know what to do for the Y.
So John, just to kind of circle back around with what you were saying, so we would, how do you close out a perpetual permit? Is it just an order of a request for COC that closes it?
Yeah, so you would close it out with a COC, and that would release we would put in the conditions that we're releasing the perpetual conditions within that order. And then, for instance, if Clear Channel would like to proceed with that maintenance corridor, the same corridor that was, originally permitted back in 2012, they can come in with a new filing.
Okay. And then, let's say,
Hmm.
and we're gonna continue to keep the same, what would it be, a 3-year duration? And then every 3 years they would need to re-up it, or is it 4?
So I think given their track record, I don't think that they're worthy of having any perpetual conditions at this point. Therefore, I would say that they would need to come in and that permit would be valid for 7 years if they wanted to extend it. So if they choose to, if they are good stewards and they showed a little bit more commitment and dedication to, the sensitivity of the work that they're doing within a wetland, I would have different, opinions. But I'm of the opinion that, for instance, they need to prove to me that they can do stuff, procedurally and administratively that's outlined in the order. And as I've seen, it doesn't seem that they understand the necessity and also the consequences for not following the rules.
And as far as the 7 years, so is this a little bit of a different filing compared to a standard NOI?
No, this would be the same notice of intent. Obviously, I mean, they're going to get a slap on the wrist for this one. And unfortunately, if they close it out, there's no guarantee that the board's going to give them another permit. But there really is no other alternative. The other alternative is that I don't know. I don't know what the other alternative is for this one. So
Well, I think what Mark is asking, and it kind of it's confusing to me too, is the permit would only be valid for 3 years. I don't know where 7's coming in.
if they wanted to extend it,
Oh yeah, that's at our discretion though.
yeah, that's
So-
at our
Yeah.
discretion.
Yeah. So I mean, there's based on their track record, I'd give them the 3, but then there's no way I would do it more than that if they couldn't prove themselves. I would just give them 1-year extensions. The bottom line is, how are they going to find out they're not even this? We're going to close this out. Do we have to send them a registered letter or something that says we're going to close this out, and they have no more? They don't have a permit. They don't have a valid permit to maintain the vegetation anymore. Is that
John,
how
do you
we're
know
going to do this?
Do you know who generated the original permit? Was it the YMCA, or because it's on the YMCA's title, right? So they have
It's on the
right to-
YMCA's title. So the YMCA has the authority to close this out because they're the landowner. But
Yeah.
whatever sort of agreements you have with Clear Channel, that's where you need to,
Yeah.
decide amongst your team. I don't want to say lawyer team, but your team, and see kind of what sort of what your options are moving forward. And that's where I leave that up to you guys. I just think that, this needs to be handled a little bit better with Clear Channel, and I'm looking for, support from the YMCA on this matter, along with the commission's assistance for making sure that this doesn't happen anymore for this area.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking after, earlier today of ways you could probably put some signage up in the, on the edge of the road that notifies, that says no clearing until, you're contacted or something like that. But, so they did the original filing in 2012. I don't think they've cleared or done anything since 2012. So the likelihood of them having to do this in the next 2 years, probably, they may not have to. So if they file I'm just thinking out loud, if they file an order, to do the maintenance, yeah, and then after 3 years, they would have to close that order and then open another one if they choose to do so.
Or they
Right, I
could
mean,
ask
they-
for an extension. They can
Or the
still
Y
ask.
could ask them to close it immediately after they've completed their clearing work too, and not allow. So that's kind of in the Y court to discuss, but I'm just thinking,
So Mark, I have a question for you.
sure,
I mean, this is just one sign. They must have signs all over Massachusetts, and they must have other jurisdictions where they have wetland issues. So is this a systemic issue that they just totally ignore the requirements with regard to maintaining their signs?
I don't have a relationship with Clear Channel beyond this one particular project, and you're right. I mean, there are countless signs around the country. I mean, around the state that
I
need
mean,
maintenance. This is an older sign though. Usually the signs are a lot taller.
yeah, but it's still, unfortunately, it doesn't speak well for their organization, that the fact that this is a routine component of how they do business, and it's kind of fallen through the cracks as if it doesn't exist. In
So
their
is-
organization.
So if what you're saying is, if we're gonna go along the lines of they don't do it every, I don't know, 8 years, whatever it is, 5 years, it's all the more reason just to make them come before us for an order of conditions, and we allow it each time.
Yeah.
Instead of in perpetuity. So I'm gonna make a motion that says that we close this out and issue a COC to close it out, and ask them we're gonna have to send them a letter by certified mail that tells them they have no more authority or permission to clear anything else without coming before us. And I would request that they send a representative next time they file, not just the Y.
So, all right, so we need to,
So I have a
So then we
motion on the
need to-
floor right now.
Yeah, we have a motion. So,
I'll second.
all right, so we have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Dan. Roll call vote, starting with Paxton and Dan,
Aye.
Aye.
Lisa and Mark,
Aye.
Joe, Joe and Tama.
Aye.
Okay, that's an aye from Tama, and I'll throw in an aye as well. So, Mark, I don't know if you can inform them that they need to have a better mechanism for dealing with this, and the next time they will just start with a notice of intent when they want to maintain the vegetation.
yeah, I will, I'll notify them on what transpired at this meeting, and then with the Y too, John, I'll get you an address to send the certified mail, and obviously it's gonna go to Lee as well, but
Right. Right, and one of the other items that I will make sure, if we ever do issue I guess, new permit for them doing maintenance, is we're gonna have them put up a surety bond. So there's no and ifs or buts about that. So we're definitely gonna make sure they put into something like that, because it seems like they need a little bit more incentive to keep with the, keep up with their permits. So we'll definitely put that in.
All right, are we all set with this then?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 280 West Main Street. Now King Barber is the business there, and I guess they couldn't read a plan or something to that effect. What's the nature of the violation? And do we have a representative?
We do. I'm gonna let Scott Adams from AEG discuss kind of what happened out there.
Okay.
Hi, Scott Adams with Advanced Engineering Group representing King Barbers. So I was a little caught off guard, as I'm sure John was. John sent over a notice of violation and as well as reached out to me via phone to let me know that there was some discrepancies between some of the work that was done on site and what was previously permitted and approved. Do I have permission to share? Maybe it's easier if I kind of share my screen quickly.
Yes, you do.
You folks see the screen or
We do, yes.
the plan on the screen?
Yeah.
Usually highlights, but okay, so as long as you can see. So this, you may look familiar. This was back in February. We had approval to an RDA, basically repaving, restriping, reconfiguring some of the main entranceway, adding a handicap ramp to the building. No work was to really be done as part of this project in the rear yard. My understanding, we're talking with the applicants at the site visit when John was there as well, was that the contractor they hired primarily to do the paving, I think, was too aggressive and possibly misunderstood some of what they were looking for when they said the words clean up the rear yard behind the building. That was part of it. The other part of it was none of the erosion control was put in place, as should have been done step one as part of the project. So what I had them directed them to do as soon as we were made aware is to not only install it per plan, but also install a second row that went around the perimeter of the new disturbance, basically the edge of the new disturbed area. So it comes all the way up and around currently. So basically, I did include some photos in the package. I'm not sure if John, if you supplied a package of this to the board, if they have a kind of a copy of it. But there is some photos at the end that kind of show the existing and the proposed to kind of show the difference between the two. There was a lot of brush and kind of just overgrowth that, speaking for the client, was unsightly, and their idea was to kind of clean it up and make it more aesthetically pleasing. I know it was definitely not something that I had discussed with them or was discussed as part of our project, but there is a little bit of a language barrier there. The applicants are from Lebanon, so sometimes there's a little bit lost in translation. It's not an excuse. I think it's more just the reality of the situation. That we explained it yet again in great detail about what they can do and what they cannot do. And again, almost the entire property is within the buffer zones. So it's been expressed to them again that anything they do basically to the site requires review and approval of the commission. So there was a lot of piles of debris, and if I can kind of zoom in here, that I think their idea was like to clean up, and the contractor that was handling their pavement came in to do that, and he was clearly too aggressive in his undertaking and cleared too much and was too aggressive. And the rear yard was a grassed area that is where their septic leach field is. And then they also put in a little bit of gravel in this location, and they installed some Conex storage containers for some storage of their products at their facility. So rather quickly, we had them install their erosion control measures, and in the course of the past couple of weeks since we were notified, they've removed the storage containers. They've installed all of the erosion control. This was the erosion control that was installed when my staff surveyed the site. Since then, there were still gaps in coverage for the erosion control. There was a gap here, there was a gap here, and we revised our proposal and told them, and I believe this is installed now, to carry it all the way down and tie it together so that it's fully contained. I didn't see anything, and I know John, I'm sure, will speak to it as well, any sort of like damage or runoff or erosion that kind of made its way into the wetland area. But
Well, that's because it hasn't rained. So,
Thankfully.
so,
So,
you're gonna be putting up erosion prevention, not just sediment control. So it's first
Yep.
thing I'm gonna ask you to do. I don't care
Yep.
if it's straw mulch, stone, whatever it is for the winter. And then I'm gonna suggest that you hire a landscape architect to, come up with a planting plan for restoration of the entire area that was disturbed.
okay. Understood. So this is the general location of their septic system here. Their Connex was installed kind of in this area, is already removed. They removed that as, I think within a couple of days, the Connex structures were gone. And then we just kind of tried to identify, this really wasn't included in our previous survey because it wasn't material to what was currently proposed. So within the last couple of weeks, we had Ecosystems go out and flag the wetland line, and we surveyed it as well as the rest of the backyard. And then we kind of looked at the historic ortho photos and maps that show the previous delineation from plans of record to show what was previously disturbed, because their septic system is technically in the 25-foot setback, of the wetlands. So a lot of this area was previously disturbed. It was more recently disturbed, but it was historically disturbed, I guess, and maintained by the previous owners of this building. So figuring out that area, but there's definitely an area between the wetland line and the area and the this edge of, I'm going to call it new disturbance here. That is was definitely new disturbance and new brush that was removed kind of generally in that area.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Who was the contractor? I mean, presumably it's somebody who works in Massachusetts. Presumably there's no language barrier there, or is these people drop out of I don't know, another state, or and they don't know the Wetland Protection Act, or?
Yeah, apparently they're not familiar with it. They're a paving contractor. They're not a typical site contractor or landscaper that would be more familiar with it, but they had equipment on site for the paving operations, and that's the way it was explained to me, is that the person didn't think it was an issue. I mean, we all know, everyone on the call, I'm sure, realizes that that's, famous last words. It was an issue.
I find it, I'm skeptical that even a paving contractor wouldn't be aware of restrictions with regard to the Wetland Protection Act, but I don't know. I guess we can just get it back in reasonable state now. Questions? John?
So, I'm going to give you a timetable to put down erosion prevention because it's going to rain. November is the rainiest month. So, I'll give you less than a week before the holiday to put something down there, because I'm sure this soil's been exposed for days on end, right?
It's been
dry.
From the
We're in a
first.
drought, so
Yes,
it hasn't
no.
been tested, right? Has not been tested. So, you need to come up with something and apply it ASAP.
So do you want the gravel area? Do you want this removed? And
Well, the area has to be restored, and you're not going to be able
Yeah.
to do that until next spring.
Mhm.
So what you're going to do is you're going to prevent erosion through the winter until you come up with a planting plan that you're going to implement in the spring. So you're going to have overwinter erosion prevention on this site. I do not think you should touch anything that's out there right now. I think you just need to apply erosion prevention. You're not going to be able to close out anyway till the spring, even if they finished up, because you don't have stabilization. So right now you're going to implement overwinter, and then in the spring you're going to replant, and then you're going to take this material out.
okay.
It's my recommendation. Does this end? I'm seeing the end of that sediment fence. Does that just end there, or does that wrap around all the way?
We told them to continue all the way to the fence. I haven't been by the site to confirm, but now it's going to be, or it should be by this point. I can get back to the plan. My computer will cooperate. So I was standing, or the photographer rather, was standing in this area looking plan south.
Mhm.
And then we asked them to connect to that all the way to the existing PVC fence and then tie it into the straw swaddle silt fence in this area so that it's completely contained.
Okay. So anything that's exposed right now that is not paved should have temporary erosion prevention on it for the winter.
Okay.
John Thomas, I have a quick question for you. So typically when we do the kickoff meetings, you're reviewing the installation of the sediment control line. Was it not in when you did a kickoff?
We didn't have a kickoff for this one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they didn't notify me when work was going on there. So that was a big red flag. That's why I went
Oh.
over there. I saw activity going on the site, noticed that work was done. They did it probably in a weekend. And that's when I called Scott and basically said what's going on. And recommended, they're actually further on the agenda. They actually have a notice of intent in front of us. This is a result. So that way we can kind of get this all conditioned out for what's actually supposed to happen moving forward. I think there's a lot more here to just do an enforcement kind of criteria. I think we should just do a notice of intent for this one. That way we can have it all more streamlined with conditions.
There's already, I'm confused. There's already an order. Why would we do another notice?
There's no order. This was an RDA.
Oh, this was an RDA.
Yes.
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah. Remind me not to do that again.
Well, I,
Okay.
this- we generally don't have this kind of a problem.
Okie doke. So I guess my comments are going to be relative to the notice of intent, but in the meantime, I think we need to ask for erosion prevention ASAP and not wait. It's part of the enforcement order. Forget about the notice right now. It's part of the enforcement order. They need to apply erosion prevention ASAP.
All right, so it sounds like we're gonna be discussing this in more detail. I mean, I agree that stabilizing this to some extent is absolutely necessary, but are we set with this until we get to the notice of intent discussion?
We should be.
Any other comments? And I guess, well, this is not a public hearing. This is more, so we don't necessarily have to have questions from the audience. And the next violation is 93 Mansfield Ave. That's at a location of some new activity. I guess they put up a fence there.
Yes, they did. And they cut down some trees. I'm working with the owner right now to file for a permit. He's supposed to meet with me next week after the holiday. So I'm hoping to resolve this. That way we can get him on the books and figure out what it is he's looking to do. I told him that the fence is a little bit close to the highway 140, and he might have some issues with Mass DOT. So
Everybody know where this location is? It's sort of difficult for me to describe it. It's directly across from the old Norton Liquors, which is no longer there. And it was a site that used to have a circular building that subsequently collapsed. So this is not something we need to discuss. It's just you issued the violation and then you're going to resolve the violation.
yes, I am letting the commission know that we did issue a violation. So I'm going to be working on this. And if I don't get any headway, there might be an enforcement order for this one as well.
Okay. And then we have a land donation discussion for Rear Village Way
Yes,
on
this
North Worcester Street.
this was the property that is in the I want to say the southwestern portion of, well, south central, near 123 and South Worcester Street. Village Way. This property is highly sensitive environmental piece of property that is in floodplain and has a lot of wetlands and streams on it. So I actually went in front of the select board recently, and they were in favor of this, of accepting this donation to the Conservation Commission. So I'm going to be working towards making this official, and I got to talk to the the attorney that's helping the landowner donate the property to the Conservation Commission. I need to work with them about getting this deed, which has been reviewed by town council, approved, and issued before the end of the year. So I need to work on that, but I will need to get signatures from the Conservation Commission and Select Board. So probably by the next meeting. So if anybody is free, I think I need at least 4 signatures, I think, to make it official. So if anybody's free between now
I'll
and the
be
next
happy
meeting.
to, yeah. I'll
John,
come
how many
by,
acres is it?
obviously.
16 acres. Yeah, it's quite a big chunk of land, and it actually connects a lot of other town and conservation pieces. I think we have 3 conservation restrictions, and I want to say 5 or 6 town parcels of equal size in that area, and this actually merges them all together. So this was the missing puzzle piece to the 150 plus acres of land that were over in that corner. So
you mentioned South Worcester, is it South?
I mean, sorry, North Worcester. Sorry,
No,
North Worcester. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah.
North of Chartley Pond. It's actually right next to the conservation restriction that was for the pre-court. That was the discussion. So.
But it's across 123 from Chartley, is that correct?
It's to the north.
Yeah.
When you mention signatures, John, do you mean come by the office or come by somewhere else?
Yeah, come by the office.
So, John, do you need a motion?
I guess you already made a motion, or the commission made a motion for me to work on getting this deed
That's right.
finalized. So I guess I don't know. Do I need another motion to accept it? I mean, we could make a motion to accept it if we want to just make it official. The select board made it official at the last meeting on Thursday, so
Well, it doesn't sound like we need a motion if they made it official then.
they did.
So you just need 4 of us to come by the office at some point. All right.
I'll have a copy printed.
All right. Well, I think I can do that. And Dan, you said you can do that?
Sure. Do you need it before I come in to sign the other stuff?
Dan, I will have it ready before you sign the other stuff. I'll try to be as efficient as possible, okay?
And
I messed that up. Is it okay if I sign it when I sign the other stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
And it will give an opportunity to anyone else to see New Town Hall if you haven't already been there. It's all right. So we're done with that, and we go on to the ANRAD of 171 West Main Street, which had been continued several meetings back, or a couple of meetings back at least. And we have a representative of the applicant for that ANRAD.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Brian Dunn with MBL Land Development and Permitting.
And I'm assuming you can share your screen.
I can?
Well, I believe, is that right, John or Megan?
Okay, can everybody see?
We can see the cover sheet, yes.
Okay, so this is the whole set of plans that we've prepared and we've updated. I just wanted to show you all the sheets that we worked on. And this is the overall locus index plan. It's really about 139 acres of land we're talking about. And based on our last meeting and discussions with your agent, we've gone back out there, we reset all the flags, made sure all of them are there on the ground. Some of them were missing. Some of them needed to be reset. We looked at the areas of potential vernal pools, one being this one here, and the other 2 over in this area here. So they are potential vernal pools that could be certified at another time. And then, we also looked at, the other vernal pools that possibly could have been up in this area. Let me get to that plan. I think it was up in, one more sheet. Up in that area there. There was supposed to be some vernal pools in this area, thought to be on a property. They were really off the property. So, there's, in these areas here, there's no vernal pools in this area of the site. We also, investigated the connections in the stream over here. So we identified the stream and that this is the bank, mean annual high water. We've got the riverfront buffer zone on it. We also updated, or actually provided information in regards to the IVW and land subject to flooding. We provided those calculations to the commission in John's office and proved that it was not isolated land subject to flooding. And then the other item which was discussed at the last meeting was to show this hydraulic connection from this wetland system. We identified the drainage line coming from this wetland system to this manhole to another manhole, but could not find where the connection is on the other side of the road. So it might be buried or, just under the road somewhere. But we couldn't find a culvert or another manhole or anything like that right now. So, further investigation of how that would be shown on the plan might have to be done at a later date when we file a notice of intent, because we don't know where it is. There are, I think, John identified some tires that need to be removed. We've discussed that with the client, and we can make sure that it's addressed, prior to us, filing any other types of notice of intents for any future projects at this site. So I think we've addressed everything that the commission was looking for, and also that John was looking for. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Just an overview. I mean, this is a huge collection of parcels.
Yes,
But
sir.
it's just from looking at this, the focus is really on just a small portion of it adjacent West Main Street. Is that a fair statement? Because
No, sir.
large-
So if you look at, I'm going to go back to the index plan. So this view here, did you see on the sheet, Mr. Chairman, right?
Yeah.
This is really in this area of the site we're talking about. So the entire parcel is, I'm going to go around it. So here's the outline of the parcel.
Okay,
So
But-
it's 139 acres. That one view that I'm talking about that had, the vernal pool here, the vernal pool here, and here is only that one sheet. You can see there's
yeah,
multiple-
but what I'm asking is, a huge portion of this appears to be wetland. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, there's a lot of wetlands here, but there's a lot of upland.
Okay.
We've got a large area of upland in here, in this
Right.
area here. We've got a large area here and here, as well as over in this area here. So there is substantial upland here as well.
All right, but for example, C 3.1 looks like it's almost entirely, well, all right, maybe.
So
Yeah,
that
all
sheet,
this wetland
that sheet
up
you're
in there.
talking about is like right here. So the majority of that one sheet is mostly wetland. So in that one sheet, this is the outline of the sheet. This is the only area on that sheet that's upland.
Yeah,
So it depends on what sheet do you go to that, that has a lot of wetlands on it.
All right, but as far as the discussion about the wetland border that we are interested in, I mean, you have it kind of illustrated there. Like C 3.6, mostly upland, and then there's an upland adjacent it. And then you have that long upland that goes out to 123.
Yeah, so we have some upland over here on Freeman Street. And then if you remember, we did the single family house here for them on Baker Street. And you can see that's the wetland line that was approved by this commission in this area already. And then you have this, strip of land here that comes out to West Main Street, which is Route 123. So, yeah, there's still a considerable amount of upland versus wetlands on the site.
So I have a question about the perennial stream that you're showing.
Yes.
So according to the quad map that I'm staring at, it continues and it continues almost due west. So is there any reason why it stops right there?
That's the limit of the perennial stream that was identified by the botanist.
I'd ask you to ask the botanist what happened to the rest of it. What happens to the rest of that stream? Because if you're looking on the quad map, it continues quite a ways. So where's the evidence that it stops right there? I'd like to see that, because that doesn't match the quad map. It doesn't just stop there, it continues on for quite a ways.
Okay.
John Thomas, did you look at that at all?
Yeah, actually, Paxton and I were out there. I guess when was it, Paxton? Was it last week that we were out there?
Yeah, last midweek. Yeah.
It takes a sharp 90 and heads towards the school property.
Right. But it continues from what they're showing. That's not the
Right.
headwaters of it. That's not the end of it. So I know it continues because I'm staring at it. So
Right.
if your botanist could update that.
Yeah,
Only-
no problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just when we were out there, the only question was maybe whether that perennial stream connected with the IVW, but
Based on the notes from the agent that we submitted to our botanist, it does not connect.
Did you
I
physically
think I
see
made
a
a
connection,
comment that I
John?
thought that it did, but I don't know, Brian.
Okay, I'll have a look at it again.
If she's going to be in that area anyway, I would just have her take a look at it. I mean, we're even in a drought, and I thought that it looked like it made a connection.
And there's no connection for that smaller one to the northwest of it either?
There is not a connection between
Okay.
the vernal pool that they're mapping and the IVW. There's actually a well and near that IVW right there. So I'm guessing there's
Okay.
some sort of
Okay.
groundwater surcharge there. I don't know.
So John, did you walk every flag here?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
And
Thank you,
did you end
John.
up adjusting anything?
The flags were very conservative, so I didn't need to adjust any.
Okay.
I mean, the
So
only
the-
other comment that I had was the connection that leaves wetland A, as Brian indicated. I mean, obviously that would need to get identified because, as we know, any sort of outlet that flows through a culvert could be considered jurisdictional if it flows to another regulatory resource area. So we just need to figure that out.
Right, so can you see this screen here?
Yes.
Yeah, so even if it connects to the wetland to the south, it's okay because it's labeled as a BVW. I mean, if they had said that it either didn't qualify, the feeder, right, that's feeding it, if they said that didn't qualify, then I would question it. But either way, it's the worst case, it's a BVW,
Mhm.
right, on both sides. So I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is BBW on either side.
Yeah.
When we were out there, there was well, we're in a kind of like a drought, so we're not gonna see flow. But usually when we have a drain connection, a constructed drain connection, the wetlands have a buffer zone associated with it. But this connection of this drainage connection would not have a buffer zone associated with it. So, that's pretty common. And when I've gone to some of the seminars at MACC, as well as the DEP stormwater regulations when they were promulgating them, and this was actually a test case that they were talking about where buffer zones would end and where they would start up again. So, but if we go to a full project of this site, I would anticipate that we need to know exactly all of the rims and inverts and the sizes and things like that to make sure that in that proposed project, we're addressing any drainage concerns.
So as far as the delineation of the wetlands goes, that there's no disagreement or controversy about that then. Is that a fair statement, John?
I'd say that the majority of the wetland flags out there did not need to change based on my expertise. But I do agree with Lisa that the perennial stream, for accuracy purposes, they should show that as it goes off site towards the Norton High School. And then I guess double checking that connection for the IVW there to that perennial stream area, because there is wetland associated with that area too, with that perennial stream. I mean, from what I gather, it wasn't mapped.
Yeah,
So,
that was gonna be my next question. It's a little unusual to have that without vegetated wetland.
yeah, there is BVW associated with that.
Okay, so that needs to be shown as well.
So did you mean high school or middle school?
I'm sorry, middle school.
Okay.
Okay,
That's what I meant, sorry.
we can't show really wetlands off of our property.
No,
No.
but you can go up to the
No.
property line with the
But
delineation.
we'll go up to the property. If it where it comes over here, we'll show it up to here. And then we'll update the buffer zone accordingly.
Right, we also want to make sure there's no BVW or want to flag the
If
BVW.
there's
associated with that
there's
stream.
BVW in this area, I'm pretty sure that she would have found it, but I'll make sure that she double checks it.
Yeah, the whole length of the stream. Please.
So it sounds like we need to see that resolved before we can close. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Brian, is that acceptable that we continue?
Yeah, not a problem. We can do that. I just need some time to do that.
Well, our next meeting, but I have to open this up to any questions first, but just for information and value, our next meeting is December 9th.
Yeah, that's probably too soon to get the botanist out there, survey it, and then get it on a plan and then get back to you guys.
We're probably going to be in January by then.
Okay, January what?
Well, we have January 13th. I guess we're gonna scrub 12/23. Is that
That was my suggestion to the board.
well, it's in the middle of a holiday ambiguity because Christmas is on a Wednesday. So
Correct.
we don't know when the holiday is, so. All right. So January 13th, but before we consider a motion, any further questions from either the commission or members of the audience? And if we hear none, then we can consider a motion to continue this hearing to January 13th.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for 250-1161 to January 13th, 2025.
Motion made by Lisa, seconded by Dan for continuation of this hearing. Roll call vote, starting with Joe and Paxton,
Aye.
Aye.
Tama and Dan,
Aye.
Aye.
Norton, Mark and Lisa.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm wishing you all a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
I
Thanks.
know.
So our next hearing is file number 250-1163, 400 Arnold Palmer Boulevard, I think it is. Notice of intent. But as I understand it, everything is resolved here, and our primary issue is just to close and then issue an order. Not to cut you down, Sarah, but I don't think we have to do anything. I mean, is that correct, John? Is that your understanding?
So one thing I wanted to ask her, I haven't actually been able to, is how'd the walk with DP go?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just for the record, Sarah Stearns with Beals and Thomas. Yes, my recollection matches the chairs. We had a good discussion on our supplemental information that was submitted our last hearing. And the commission discussed and preferred to continue to tonight to get a report on our site walk with Mass DEP on the certificate of compliance request that is outstanding on the superseding order for a footbridge and replication area on a different part of the course. So I'm happy to report that we had our site visit with Mass DEP 2 weeks ago, maybe it was last week, and everything went well. The reviewer was pleased with the finished product and the replication area after 2 growing seasons. Didn't commit to a date on submitting a final COC, but that is in the works. So he has not requested any further information. And it sounds like that is moving forward, hopefully by the end of the year, he thought.
Comments, questions?
I have a couple questions on a plan set. I know we had asked for some grading of a green area, and I hadn't seen any updated plans. I don't know if I missed a plan set or if this was information that might have been overlooked.
Yep, we did submit a revised plan set with additional detailed grading in the project areas, particularly on holes 2 and 10, that we discussed at our last hearing in, I think that was submitted in October with a supplemental letter as well. If you'd like, I can share the screen to point that out to you.
If you don't mind.
Sure, of course.
So, John, were those plans posted on Google on the Drive? Because I only saw ones from August. They still had an August date on them.
So
I'd have to double check with Megan on that one.
Okay, so yeah, I think part of the confusion is I think the ones that are posted just still say August. Okay,
Okay.
but sorry, continue.
Sure. Yep. So we just sort of list all of the
Yeah.
revision dates on the front page, and then again on this little side
Yep.
panel here. So this is the second hole, and you can see commissioners that we did add. We actually collaborated with the golf course architect on this since it is part of the playable area, and it's really quite specifically detailed. So we collaborated with them and included their proposed grading, both in this area, which, as you know, is in the buffer zone, and on the 10th hole, this area also, which is within the buffer zone. We did keep all grading outside of the 25-foot local setback from resource areas as well.
Did you include the drainage also in that, which was requested?
Yes, so that was an attachment to the supplemental letter. It was just a hand sketch that was provided.
Could we clarify that and get that on a plan set? Because that just seems like it needs to be in there. I did see the chicken scratch there.
Yeah, this is what the club has.
That, unfortunately, that's not in the plan set, and,
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's not an as-built. We can't tell what's going on later on. This is definitely missing information.
so the irrigation, this isn't drainage.
Well, this is drainage.
Okay,
right.
see,
This
this
is drainage.
is drainage, and some of it will be updated as part of this, but a lot of it will be left in place.
But when we looking at the green in the area in our areas where you, I mean, behind 10, what is this mark? I'm assuming that's a bunker from this. Is that a drainage draining into the wetland? What are we doing there? I see another slash and a dash on the hand scribble, but it's not clear. And I think even someone constructing this wouldn't say that that was clear. Now, my concerns are where that water is going, and I want to make sure it's going in the right place.
So is anything on that sketch a directive to the contractor that they have to install something? Or replace something? Or I guess that's what we're getting to. We want to see the plans that are actually going to be, used in the field by the contractor so we can tell if it was done the right way.
Yeah, I think typically, these are permit level plans, so there will be some more detail added to construction level plans, which is typical, but I can make a note of this.
So do we want to potentially put a condition in that prior to a pre-construction meeting, the applicant provide the necessary plans that are going to include this information that we're requesting?
Would that resolve the questions? Between Joe and
I'm not sure, because if I don't know where the water is going now, and now's my chance to make the say whether it's going in the right spot or not versus later. It's already decided that it's going somewhere. So my concern is I'd like to know where it's going at this point, if it's going into our wetland areas. And, I'm fully informed of, how the treatment is and if it's in an area that we have jurisdiction over.
Yeah, so is that, so can you go over the drainage patterns there now, Sarah, on those holes?
I mean, I think I'd have to go back to the club to get more information on that.
So in other words, in general, does it just sheet flow right now?
On some of the holes, there are area drains that collect it, and the runoff is piped to different areas. Sometimes it's sheet flow. It's really just very different depending on the area. So I guess, if you're looking at a specific area, if you're concerned about this hole 10, we can look at that. Hole 2 is essentially being rebuilt in an area where there isn't a fairway. So this is probably the focus of existing versus proposed, whereas number 2 is just proposed. So we can, certainly discuss that.
Yeah, I see your point, Joe. I mean, if we're going to approve something, we should know where the drainage is.
Yeah,
Today, and where
if it was
it's
any
going.
project, that would be what we required.
Well, I mean, we're not adding any impervious, which is the difference here. I mean, it's going pervious to pervious. Water is going to infiltrate in a lot of the areas where that raindrop hits, and others where it collects will just either be collected via a drain or just will sheet flow as it does today. So I don't.
But we are talking about, high fertility flow and high fertilization and nitrogen leaching and all these things into potentially sensitive areas, especially in a golf situation.
Yeah, just not different from really what's happening in today's layout. So, I mean, there's not a lot of change, but I hear your request.
But I do think you're right that if we make it a condition and then if we have further questions on it, it's going to be too late.
So what is your suggestion?
That we get an updated set that shows existing and proposed. Well, existing conditions and then proposed conditions on both of those Ts.
Specifically with regard to
Runoff.
pipe drainage or?
Runoff, how they're treating it, where it's going today and where it's going to go afterwards. Is it sheet flow? Is it piped? Are there new pipes going in? That's all the stuff we should be privy to. Joe's right.
Well, but this is the complication I see is it's pervious. You know, are we going to? I mean, I mean, I'm not used to thinking in terms of pervious areas where we do runoff calculation. It's more impervious.
No, it's not even a calculation. It's here's where the water's going today. From between here and here, it's going sheet flow. It's going directly into the drink. Between here and here, it's going via drain today, and it's going to be going drain tomorrow. I mean, those are, I guess, questions we need answers to. So that's all. It's just the drainage, just like we would have any engineer walk us through existing and proposed. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean,
runoff,
I
not
would say on,
drainage per se. Yeah.
yeah, I would say on number 10, it will be very similar to how it's laid out today. I don't think that the grading around the green or expansion of the green is going to change that dramatically in the buffer zone, but we can, you know, certainly overlay that. And like I said, on the second hole, it's a new layout. So,
So
very,
there may be new drains on that one.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what
where
we need.
necessary, you know, so it's going to
Right.
be, you know, only in low areas where water would
Collect.
back up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So typically we approve a pipe network, we approve discharges, we approve on any project. So think that's where Joe's going with this, is that we approve
Right.
stormwater management for every project, and this is no different than any other project.
right. I guess the only difference again is that we're going pervious to pervious. So there's no change in cover type that we're proposing. So, you know, existing and proposed in terms of just capturing the same runoff will be similar, but I mean, we can certainly lay that out.
Yeah. Hopefully that does it, Joe. Is that,
I think
What
that
you were
will
getting
cover
at?
it. I just want to make sure it's not being piped into the drink or being piped into a sensitive area. I just would like to see where the piping is headed.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, the two ponds adjacent to these holes are man-made ponds and used for storage. So we don't have a lot of, you know, naturally occurring wetlands directly adjacent. So, but yeah, I mean, were you not at the hearing last week, Commissioner
Unfortunately, I
Cabral?
wasn't.
Or last time? Okay, that makes sense.
Was not.
Okay.
And I had reviewed the plan set and reviewed what I needed to review, and these were topics that I found missing, and they were unanswered questions I had in my notes.
Are you satisfied with the grading that I just went over?
The grading that you went over looks acceptable.
Yeah, okay, so really just an overview of existing and proposed drainage in these areas within the buffer zone.
Correct. And you have grading for hole number 2 too,
Yeah,
because I haven't seen that plan set.
oh, I just put that up there.
Okay.
Do you want me to reshare it?
No, we'll see it in our Google Drive. So,
Yep, it's dated October 22 is the last update.
yeah, I
And
think we just
I'll
need to
make sure Megan
it's
has that
posted.
on
It's
the
not
server.
October 21st, because that's the one I have on there.
Is it? Okay, I thought I saw August for some reason. I
August
don't
was the
know why.
first issue in
Right.
October.
But
Right.
both dates may be there, and maybe that's part of the.
Yeah, they're both on there. One's under October, one's under November.
So are we asking for a continuation for that information to be available before we can issue?
Wait a minute, the November information is just the draft order. I don't see any plans.
I'm sorry, one's under October, one's under just like the general folder.
Is there any way to rename these? You have to open up every single one of them to figure out what you're looking at. We should have a conventional naming convention for all of these, like, you know, plan set, this, that. I'm just seeing innocuous names. It's not easy to have to open up every one of them. So which one is it? I'm seeing November 20th, October 1st, supplemental. Which one is it? Which one is the November or plan set, the latest plan
Megan,
set?
do you know?
That says October 21st.
Okay. That's not the whole set. That's just the sketch, I think.
No, if you scroll all the way down, it's attached to it.
Oh, okay. So October 21st is the latest.
Yes.
Okay. There was nothing in November. Okay, I got it.
Yep, at our
Okay.
last hearing, it wasn't requested to submit anything further for tonight's discussion. So October was
Okay.
our last submittal.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So yeah.
Oh,
Lisa, you're
muted.
muted, sorry. No, you're muted.
Yep.
We can't hear you.
I know. I was trying to get there. So it looks like we need a continuation until
I
when?
think
What's the next
9th.
hearing?
December 9th. So Sarah, is that something that you're willing to accommodate?
So that means, does that mean materials need to be in by December 2nd? Which is Monday? I think that's a question for John or Megan, I guess.
I would ask them to be in by December 5th so I can update whether or not there is a continuance needed for the next meeting.
Okay, let's shoot for the 9th and we'll do our best to get everything in by the 5th. And if we can't, we'll just request a continuance to the January meeting, I guess.
Thank you.
If you don't get it in by the 5th, we put coal in your stocking.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well, I think the TPC person had indicated that it was no immediate, they weren't doing it immediately, so.
Yes, I'm not sure when their construction
Yeah.
is planned, but they do try to do, after 20 years, they're trying to do their permitting well ahead of schedule and getting things lined up. So I don't think
Yep.
there's an immediate rush. I just hate to say, let's go out to January now, but we may be able to get the drainage plan pulled together relatively quickly. So we'll do our best. And if not, we'll see you in January.
Well, considering the political climate, Dan, she may get a coal mine in her stocking. All right. So unless there are further questions, we can consider a motion for continuation of this until December 9th.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for file 250-1163 to 12/9.
Second.
Motion by Lisa, seconded by Dan. Lisa and Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Paxton, Joe, and Dan.
Aye.
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 And Tama?
Aye.
And I'll throw in an aye. So Sarah, I guess we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks.
Okay. So next item is file number 250-1166 concerning 257, 259 Mansfield Avenue for the construction of a training facility for, Matthew, I think you can take it from there.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. For the record, Malcolm Vasey with Bowler Engineering, representing the applicant, NES Group, who is the representative of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, who is the property owner. If you remember, we were here back on October 7th. At that time, we hadn't even received a peer review yet, so obviously no talks of closing then. So I can just do a quick refresher on the project in case the time passed and kind of where we are from there. This is right on South Main Street, just south of the existing facility. So the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers actually owns this building to the to the north of the property, and they've purchased this property to the south.
Are you able to share your screen?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's one of my specialties, is to talk about a plan that I'm looking at and no one else can see. So
I noticed
apologize for that. Thank you for telling me before I got all the way through. So now you can see the plan. The electrical workers, they own the property to the north here, which is actually in Mansfield. This is kind of an office headquarters for them. They purchased this property to the south. Currently contains some gravel park and drive areas, a house, and I believe kind of like a little barn structure to the back of the property. The resource areas on the site there's a intermittent stream down the south side of the property here that goes to the Norton Reservoir, and associated BVW. Additionally, there's a BVW that runs just all along the east side of the property, kind of up gradient of the reservoir itself, and as well as a 100-year floodplain, which we're not proposing any work in. Under existing conditions, there is some vegetated areas where there's existing wetland. A lot of the site is largely cleared, disturbed, and uses his lawn area. There's also some existing paved areas within the jurisdictional 25-foot buffer area. The project itself is constructing an 8,000 square foot kind of training facility. It's kind of a unique use. What they do is they do training for training electrical workers. So they'll have some poles set up in pole yards outside for some training for pole activities. They'll have classrooms inside the building. They actually have a 2-story section of the building through the center here, where they'll have poles inside the building set up inside for the winter, so they can train them on how to work safely in the poles. Aside from that, just some 25 parking spaces, some paved area around the perimeter of the site, and then these kind of stone hatched areas are outdoor pole training yards where they'll have the poles set up for training. When we did the design and we're kind of doing the layout, we knew the 25-foot buffer was of importance to the commission. John gave us a heads up on that, and we had the guidance from the commission. So we worked to make sure we did proposing no impervious areas inside the 25-foot area. So we've done that. Additionally, proposing to remove the existing impervious areas within the 25-foot buffer and restore, just kind of allow it to naturally revegetate itself. So under existing conditions, I think there's about 2,100 or so square feet of impervious area in the 25-foot buffer, which we're proposing to remove and completely allow to naturally revegetate. Additionally, for work inside the 25-foot buffer itself, we do have some very limited kind of off grading within the previously disturbed areas, which again, we would plant with the conservation seed mix and allow it to revegetate. One comment we did receive from the commission itself and John was we had our limit of work didn't actually go around some of the areas where maybe there were some impervious areas we could take out. So we've wrapped it around all existing impervious areas to make sure we're getting that out. And then also we've extended the erosion control barriers to the edge of the lawn area, to the wetland line. There's no natural vegetation in there to protect, and that will allow us to plant a conservation seed mix rather than the lawn mix that is there today. The project proposes a stormwater management system that largely consists of subsurface infiltration chambers at the front of the building near Mansfield Avenue, as well as a rain garden to the rear of the property for treatment that could make into that front infiltration area. We did receive a peer review from the town's peer review agent, PGB Engineering. We received it, we responded, and I think on the 14th we received a letter back. I think it's essentially a clean bill of health as far as that goes. None of the comments really changed the project as we're looking at it right here. Very technical questions relative to the O&M and some details and things like that. But the heart of design is basically as we presented it last time to the commission. One other quick update I can give is we did meet with the planning board on the 13th last Wednesday and received approval from them as well. So we aren't expecting any changes from the project as a result of planning review. That said, I'm happy to jump into more detail or answer any questions the commission has.
A question for John. As I understand it, this resolves any of the discussion that we had last time. Is that correct?
Yeah, the only comment, Matt, that I would have for this one is that if you are going to dedicate areas that you're designating as buffer enhancement or restoration areas, hatch those out and show those so that way we can see them on a plan. Like you said, you were going to have those areas as being a restoration area with seed mix. Just having those clearly identified so that way when we're out there, to do the assessment and evaluation for an as-built, we know that that area has been restored, especially in the areas that are within the 25.
Yep, yeah, sure. We do show a conservation seed mix hatch, I think, on our landscape plan, but
Okay.
happy to provide whatever exhibits just to make sure we're documenting all that.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I can just reference that plan.
Yep, yeah.
I want to make it known that we should make sure that that plan should be used for the contractors.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yep, that makes sense.
So whenever, I don't know if you guys are going to have like a contractor plan or a construction plan sequencing, whatever you guys are going to do for construction, just so that way they know before they leave that they need to restore those areas specifically. And we're going to call that out probably in our order.
Yeah, I think I'd be fine with that. And you're right, it says it on the plan, but those details do get lost at times. So having it
They can get lost.
Yeah.
They can get lost with certain contractors.
Yeah, a note that really slaps it in the face. Probably a good idea.
Would you mind sharing screen again so we can look at the grading
Oh,
plan?
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I just had a few questions.
Oh, sure.
So can you show us exactly where you're performing work in the 25?
Sure. Yeah. So as far as where we're performing work, this gray dashed line would be the limit of work. But again, a lot of that's the removal of existing impervious areas, the driveway that comes down the side, or the buildings that extend a little into the 25-foot buffer. Additionally, all this area within our limit of work is existing lawn area, so no removal of wooded or natural vegetation within the 25-foot buffer. The areas where I'd point out where we I guess need to do work, but there is a little off grading we would propose into the 25-foot buffer here. Again, we would seed and vegetate that with the conservation seed mix, but as part of the interim construction, we would grade in there. Again, no removal of vegetation.
So,
but
okay, so can you just point, sorry, it's really hard to see the 25 here. So
Oh,
can you
sure.
just-
Yeah, the 25 is this dashed dot line. My hand's kind of tracing right now, comes along here.
Okay.
Yep.
So typically when somebody's in the 25, the way to avoid it is to put up a retaining wall. So is there any reason why you didn't put a wall on that side?
Sure. Yeah, so we do put a wall to avoid it back here, and the reason for that is there is wooded vegetation in here we didn't want to disturb. We also did it here. Again, the same reason there's a wooded vegetation around here we didn't want to disturb. Here is is existing lawn area that's disturbed and maintained. So rather than putting in a wall, which is a little costly, we figured just grade it down to grade, and then we can stabilize it from there, because either way we'll be restabilizing it.
So the difference is you're going into the 25 there because it's already, well, it's not disturbed. It's lawn, right? It's vegetated.
It's lawn area around the existing house.
I
Sorry.
I thought some of it was driveway that you were going to restore.
Yep, yeah, that's correct too. I don't know if that exact spot is one of those areas, but it's pretty close. That's through here. And
So
up
is
through
that
here.
pavement today?
Pavement today, correct? Yep.
Okay. So that seems like a fair swap then, if you're gonna remove pavement there. Okay. And then where else are you within the 25?
As far as grading itself,
Well, any work in the 25.
Yep. Yeah, we extended the erosion control barrier to the limit of tree line around the back here into the 25, and the reason for that is I think it was a discussion at the last hearing was, well, if that area is disturbed anyway, bring it within the limit of work and plant it with the conservation seed mix rather than putting the erosion controls, upgrading of that and allowing it to maintain as a lawn. So
Well, wait. Can you zoom in there? So you're
Yeah.
putting the sediment control line at
the edge of the existing lawn area.
See, in my view, the sediment control line should always be at the limit of work, because if you give a contractor an inch, they're going to take a mile. So the sediment control line essentially dictates the limit of work. It's the stop sign. So if you put that all the way to the edge of where the gray line is, which is the edge of the wetland, then there'd be equipment over there, just like we saw in the last project. So I don't think this is a good idea. I think it's a terrible idea. Because you want to put up the stop sign to the contractor. You want to keep it tight. You want to put it to the limit of work.
Yeah.
You don't want to put it that far out.
Yeah, I certainly understand the point. I think, I don't know if it would be necessary, but I think we'd be welcome to either pull it in, or if you wanted to put like orange construction fencing along the 25-foot buffer, so that's not an area that they're regularly traversing in. Either or, I think the reason we pushed it back was per request to kind of allow that area to be seeded with the conservation mix, but we'd be amenable either way.
Okay, I think the orange construction fence is a great idea. We do that quite a bit. So just follow that limit of work. That would be great. And then, is the flood zone on here associated with the reservoir?
Yep, yeah, that's this. These lines are all dark and gray, but this 105 contour that comes down here, so just outside our limit of work here.
Okay. Can you tell me what the purpose of this? Is it going to be crushed stone? What is that area going to be used for?
It's a gravel area, so it's going to be used for pole training. So I don't think I'm qualified to speak too much about it, but I think what they do is they set poles outside. They'll bring potential workers in training out there and have them climb poles. One thing I can say about it is there's no actual electrical equipment or transformers or things that might contain kind of like an oil or any type of reportable chemical. Is literally just dry wood poles. So I know that was one question we asked, is just to make sure they weren't actually going to have any electrical equipment back there, which could have reportable quantities you'd be interested in. That's not the case. It's just simply climbing of wood poles. And I think
Okay,
it might
so
even
what
have
about
fake electrical
trucks
wires.
and equipment? And I mean, it almost looks like the shape of a parking lot. Is there any reason why it's that wide? It almost looks like a truck turnaround. Are there any equipment in it or parking
yeah.
or?
Yeah, so I don't think there'd be any permanent parking, but they would bring in, I would presume, bucket trucks back there, typically used for that type of work, and that would be part of the training. So no permanent parking.
So it's gonna have to be plowed though. So you see where I'm going with this? I'm not sure why this is not paved and we have stormwater management if you're gonna have trucks back there.
Oh, pavement instead of gravel?
Yeah, gravel doesn't really work in case there's an oil spill. We can't control who's going to park here someday. So if you have overflow parking here and there's a, oil leak, gas spill, where's it going? It's going into the groundwater. So that's why we have stormwater management, right? It collects it all, puts it into a system. So is there any thought about paving this area? Because again, we're not going to be the parking police, and I'm not going to go back someday and say, oh, they only said it was foot traffic and no parking. So if you think someone's going to park there at some point, or there's going to be operation of vehicles and you're going to have to plow it, then I think it needs to be paved and you need to have some stormwater management over there.
Yeah, we do have stormwater management. That the area will be collected as a grass swale proposed along the side of the gravel area and a bioretention area here to the rear. So we treated it as impervious. As far as making it impervious, I guess I'd defer to the commission a little bit. In our mind, it's more of a maintenance thing than anything else. The gravel itself is impervious, and we treat it that way. But
so
again,
how do you plow it without ripping it up every time either, if they need to get there in the winter? You're going to continuously come into ruts, and you're going to grind that material down. It's going to almost have the appearance of being impervious at some point when it's compacted. That's my concern. It's not going to stay impervious for long if there's equipment on it.
Well, I guess that's the question, is you have an indoor facility with some of this training equipment. Do they ever use the outdoor facility in adverse weather conditions?
I don't want to speak in certainties because I just would hate to say something untruthful, but my hunch would be they would use the indoor facility just because they do have the ability to put poles in there, but I don't know that for sure. So
yeah, so I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to say they're probably going to use it for parking and or operation of equipment, because again, I am not going to be the police here someday driving by going, oh look, they said they weren't going to park here and now they are. So I would ask you to pave that, at least put a curb up, put something on that so that I'd ask you to pave it first and look at stormwater management for that area. Because I don't believe it's not going to be exposed to equipment and vehicles.
Yeah, and we did provide stormwater management as if it was impervious area. We just have it proposed as gravel.
Right. So there's no catch basins, there's no curbing. We don't know if
Sh-
there's going to be other catch basins.
No, we would have it sheet flow to a swell alongside of
Yeah.
the gravel area, which collect it and direct it to
Okay.
a bioretention area.
Yeah. So again, if there's an oil spill, that's why we call out for stormwater management. So I guess that's what I'm looking for here. That's all I'll say. I'm done. I'm done trying to beat this horse. It needs to be paved, and you need a stormwater management system, in my opinion.
I guess the only alternative is with regard to what kind of equipment would be back there.
Yeah, sure. And like I said, it would just be the temporary of bucket trucks back there when they were doing a training session for in the pool yard
And again,
area.
we're not the vehicle police, Julian. So who's to say they're not going to use this for overflow parking or storage of the bucket trucks in perpetuity? Who knows? We're not in that business, and I'm sure Matthew's not going to guess as to what goes on there either. So
Yeah, from my perspective, I would say, did the IBEW folks request a gravel parking lot there?
They requested the gravel training area. They have this at a few of their different locations as well. It's not for parking at all. And when we were laying it out, it was never the intention for it to be parked. They just want the area that they can put the poles in and drive a truck in and do the training session. So
So clarification, if they want a gravel pad area, I presume that's part of the training with the gravel pad. Is that typical? I don't know. I mean, maybe talk to IBEW and see if that's a standard practice and training that everybody goes through, because my understanding is if it's supposed to be gravel and the design is, and they're supposed to be working under gravel footing, doing this work, climbing these poles, I guess that's my question, is if it's going to be a paved surface and it's defeats their training, or it handicaps their training, I don't think they're going to want that. So
yeah. And I do know they tend to take the poles and move locations or put more in or change the equipment. So I think that is a big impetus behind the gravel area.
I don't know. I'm just saying that we actually had a project in front of us similar to this where, it was our recommendation to pave a parking lot that was coming in for us as close to the reservoir, but it was going to be paved for maintenance, upkeep, and whatnot. So I guess clarification from your client is going to be needed on this one. If they're requesting it be gravel for some purpose, they can request that. I mean, then the commission can make a determination on it, but it seems that, the members are seeking an understanding as to why it's gravel versus impervious.
Yeah, and I think I can elaborate on that a little bit. So we do have a second area up here and this shows the poles. The poles are graphical, but they do take these in, put them out, put them in different locations. They have different things that they bring in and bring out. So I think they will be changing the different pole layouts in here and drilling new poles in and out of the gravel area. So I think for that reason, they wouldn't want it pavement. When we've looked at their other facilities, sometimes they'll have like a 12-foot wide paved ring road, but then the area around it will be gravel because they're doing the same thing. They're drilling the poles in at different locations at different times.
but you're showing those poles on the outside of the gravel. You didn't show it inside the gravel.
Sure. Yeah. Again, graphical. The idea is that they have the flexibility to do what they want in there as far as putting the poles at different locations.
I mean,
So-
if that's the case where they're going to be rearranging the poles for their training, they're going to have to come in to us and give us that kind of information, that's going to be an active kind of management area that they're seeking to be able to install and remove those poles, because we're going to have to put some conditions in for that specifically.
Yep. Sure. Yeah. yeah, we can provide more detail on that if you need so, or whatever you need.
I just
on
need
that.
confirmation that's what they're gonna be doing. That way I can write up some conditions associated with that
Yep,
and
yeah,
just have those areas identified.
yeah, I can confirm that right now.
Maybe it would be helpful if they can send us if somebody can take a photo of one of the other facilities that looks like this, what it's gonna look like, that would be helpful.
I think
Yeah.
so. That's a great recommendation, Lisa.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do that.
okay, then maybe, it doesn't need to be paved, but right now, it's screaming to be paved because I'm looking at those poles and they're on the perimeter, they're not interior to it, so that would have been my first clue as to they need to use the surface. So, anyway,
So, Matthew, would you be willing to bring back that information to us in a continuation?
Yeah, happy, whatever the commission needs, obviously happy to get it. So just information on how they'll use that area, and I can provide photos or different, if they have other facilities like this, so we can take pictures or provide aerials of what those look like.
and then, John, did we talk about, I mean, so if those poles, are they augered in? So you're gonna have spoil piles every time you move those if they're on the exterior of the gravel as well. So we don't want spoil piles hanging out. But did we talk about any type of barrier to prevent them from clearing further into the
You mean-
reservoir?
You mean visual barrier?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be something that we're gonna want from them. At least posts. At least near this training facility area in the back, along with the retaining wall. The retaining wall is gonna be self-explanatory, but we're gonna have
Yep.
them put posts along the edge, I think. Probably starting where their training facility is, to the, I guess, closest to where the gravel parking lot area with the posts or the poles, and all going all the way around the perimeter to the other gravel parking lot. I think those two areas specifically we should kind of call out for having the visual barrier.
Okay, do we want a post or do we want a split rail?
It's up to you. I've been advocating for posts because they're more of a cheaper alternative than the split rail. But if you think a split rail is needed in some areas, I'm open.
I think that's a discussion we should leave up to them, only for the well-being of like OSHA and safety things of having posts in these particular areas. Just if someone's climbing poles, there's potential injury and impaling people. Hopefully, I don't know, it just doesn't sound like something, especially right next to that training facility. That's a great idea.
I can ask that question to them as well. But they've been made aware that the commission would condition that there's to be no disturbance in the 25-foot buffer. So the idea of some sort of demarcation, I don't think comes as a surprise to them. So we can ask them a question.
Okay.
So our next meeting is the 12th, is the 8th. Well, did I get
The
that right?
9th.
The 9th,
It's 9th, yep.
the 9th of December. Is that a reasonable time frame?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
So unless there are further questions from anyone in the meeting, we can go ahead with a motion for continuation.
I'll make a motion
So
to,
moved.
there you go, Dan, I'll second.
All right, motion by Dan, seconded by Lisa. And let's see, Lisa and Tama and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And Paxton, Dan, and Mark.
Aye.
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 And I'll throw in an aye, so the motion carries.
Awesome. Have a great night. See you on the 9th.
Give it up, thank you.
Thank you.
We are now up to a new public hearing for 280 West Main Street. And is the representative Scott?
Yes, sir. Still here.
All right, so you may want to share your screen and go ahead with the plan.
Plan on the screen?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so one of the purposes of today's meeting, I should say, was just discussions with John that the board was aware that obviously that myself and the applicant was taking it seriously and that we're working towards restoration. So in the past couple of weeks, as I believe I mentioned, earlier, we've become under a contractual obligation with them. We've hired a wetland scientist to flag the property. We've surveyed the property again, picking up those wetland flag locations, as well as researched, the previously disturbed areas a little bit better, compared photos and things like that I've attached, some near map images that we have access to as well. I think you folks do as well. And we're working towards coming up with a restoration plan at this point. The site's unique because there is a lot of work that was, previously constructed within the the buffer zones and within the 25-foot setback lines. Their septic system, their septic tank, things like that was in it. Predominantly, majority of this area has been previously disturbed and cleared. The septic plan that was done in the early 2000s actually had a survey points on it that showed the tree clearing at that time, and we've actually reflected that on this plan, and it's noted on here as well, just so that for the board's information. The wetland flags basically come down here, wetland flags 9, which is towards the corner of the chain link fence and vinyl white fence, and then comes across a couple of trees towards this way, towards the plan south, and then ultimately out towards, West Main Street. So again, we will work with the wetland scientist, and it sounds like if it may be a request of the board to get a landscape architect involved to come up with a plan to show the restoration. And it sounds like as part of this project, we're going to immediately request, as I've already texted the applicant, to provide additional erosion control measures over all the disturbed area. I'm guessing at this point it'll be a straw, hay mulch. I'm guessing is something that would be entertained by the board to get something down quickly.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you have that with tackifier.
Okay.
You want it because it's going to blow away. And you want it to a sufficient depth. It's usually minimum of 3 inches with no bare spots. There's a spec, I think, with EPA or DEP has one.
EPA has a spec
Yeah.
for it.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. I've seen some people note like 100 pounds per 1,000 square feet or something. It's to give people a guide as well.
Yep.
Of how much to purchase on site,
Yep.
But I'll I'll do a belt and suspenders. I'll say both, but not to a minimum of the 3 inches as you noted.
Yeah, and we had kind of given a concession in the initial discussions because some of their parking actually advances into the 25-foot. But now, they have all this disturbance also within the 25-foot. So I think ultimately the design should try to restore the 25-foot to true no disturbance and allow some natural vegetation to reoccur in that.
I don't even think there's any topsoil back out here yet.
Well,
right?
I think it's been covered with gravel. It looks like it was compacted on top of that.
Right. So I don't think it's going to revegetate naturally. I think they're going to have to either remove that. They're going to have to aerate. Joe knows.
I just want to be clear, we're talking about the same thing. So the area in the rear that was disturbed, I guess incorrectly, to put it mildly, where the gravel was installed was back in this area here where they installed some shipping containers for storage that have since been removed, but the gravel still exists. And it's definitely our intention to remove that, put back suitable materials as part of our restoration. The parking stuff requirements that was previously approved was pre-existing parking that had been there for 50, 60 years. And as part of the previous approval, in order to improve the situation, we're actually removing some of the parking that was existing and putting back crushed stone areas to allow for greater infiltration prior to,
Yeah.
you know, anything heading towards. So this area of removal was previously existing pervious areas that were removed as part of our last approval process.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is questioning the previous approved work. But, you know, toward the rear of the property,
Yes.
I mean, that whole area is, I don't know if it was bulldozed and then the gravel was put there. But it was kind of, I mean, on top of that, it looks like the gravel was even put right on top of their, I mean, that appears to be a compacted surface.
This is where they installed those two shipping containers side by side.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Right, and then it looks like some of it went over their leaching area, which is not necessarily good for that. And then they
Absolutely.
compacted it, so it's kind of like,
And after John left that day, I myself had my office send me over their septic plans, and I literally painted out on the ground and informed them, like, you guys were driving over your septic. I hope you didn't damage it. You know, this is where your pipes are. We painted out on the ground so that they were aware and of the septic system issue, which is a completely separate issue. But you know,
that's why I just wonder about the quality of this paver. It's like,
I don't know them. I'm not familiar with the name at all. They mentioned him to me, and it's somebody I've never heard of before, honestly.
they obviously have the equipment, but they don't necessarily have the proper experience.
So is there, it looks like there's material on the wrong side of the fence as well.
It seems like there's something here that they didn't quite bring this around further enough.
Yeah, so that material, because it's on the wrong side of the fence, and if it rains, could end up in the drink, that material needs to be removed from the back side.
I don't have a photo after they revised this yet again, because this was a couple of iterations. So
Okay.
I will be going back by the site, but I told them, as I think I mentioned previously, that this wasn't enough, and I specifically told them it's going to be beyond the limit of any proposed or any existing disturbance, all the way around and then going down the fence line, which is to my right over here, and tying that in to I'm looking to see if I have another photo.
Okay, I'm just saying if there's any material on the wetland side of the fence, it should be taken out, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
the plan. So I wanted them to I was standing, the gentleman that took the picture was standing with the fence looking this way. So I said, it's gonna go all the way to the fence and all the way down the fence, tying it into the original approved location for these materials.
So I have a quick question here. The tree we're looking at appears to be girdled all the way around. Is this true, or is this, I mean, it looks like a machine has rubbed up that against that on all three sides from what I've seen here. The one with the blue ribbon around it
Yep. I'm looking for if I have any other photos of that.
looked like from the other side, we could see it was damaged from the other side from the last photo that was looking back this way. See it from that side right there, same thing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to come up with something in the plan to deal with this now potentially hazardous tree that has been debarked.
So it sounds to me that what we're going to be looking for is a kind of a restoration planting plan for the next stage of this. Scott, I guess what's the ETA on that kind of from your landscape architect?
We have not engaged a landscape architect yet, only the wetland scientist, so I'll have to engage. There's a couple that I've used in the past. So I'll reach out and see who has the bandwidth to try to take this on quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, just make sure that they can detail sequencing. So if this material has to be removed, so I want to see some sequencing so that I don't want somebody to just try to plant over this crap that I'm looking at here. So they should do some sequencing. If there's anything to be removed or soil prep or anything like that.
Yep.
Okay,
But,
thank you.
but stay focused on getting some form of stabilization on top of this for the winter.
Yeah, that should be in the next week or so.
Yep, I've already talked to him about that.
Okay. I mean, it would be great if you could show us pictures of it at the next meeting that it's done.
Yeah, Scott, let me know when it's done. I'll come out there, take some photos. And that way you don't have to make another trip, and then we can hopefully be in discussions about the next steps and kind of getting something figured out for the spring and kind of get a plan in place for seeing how this will come into fruition for restoring this area that was altered.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. I mean, just speaking for the applicant, I mean, I've spoken with them multiple times. I know John did. It's a family-run business. This is their first kind of ground-up build, where the other two locations that they have, they just kind of moved into existing buildings. So they're a little bit of a fish out of water, and they were extremely apologetic, to it happening, and they haven't complained about what they need to do, and frankly, the thousands of dollars they need to pay for engineering and botanists and landscape architects, and they're like, whatever we got to do to make it right, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, and
So-
in another location, it wouldn't have been an issue if it were
Absolutely.
upland. But it's
Yep.
not upland.
Well, I'll tell you, it's one of those lessons learned, and I think next time we have a project like this, it's going notice of intent, no more RDAs. So, or we write in the kickoff meeting to the RDA, John. I don't know.
It was a very basic project initially,
Yeah.
honestly.
I know.
Like we're repaving and we're adding a handicap ramp. It was
I know.
from my perspective, I was caught off guard when John reached out. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. There was
Yeah.
nothing supposed to happen in the backyard, and we
Yeah.
kind of ran out there within a day or so. We were on site
Yeah.
with them, but
Yeah.
it even fell off my radar because at one point they didn't know if they were going to move forward with the project, and so I kind of just, I don't say forgot about it, but they were considering selling it, at one point.
Yeah.
And so it just was a shocker, I think, to all involved,
Yeah.
at the time. And, I think they were
Yeah.
given really bad advice, and it's costing them not only
Yeah.
financially, but time now as well. Cause they need this, to move forward. So,
So
but I don't think they definitely intentionally did it. We all know that we have these clients that it's better to beg forgiveness than ask permission.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's the case here. And, I'm not sure John's opinion. He talked with them separately, but
No, I mean, people make mistakes all the time. It's just now we need to correct them. So that's where we're at right now. So I guess just have them give me a call after the holiday, and I will make sure to get out there and take a look at this and snap a few photos, making sure that the stabilization methodology is appropriate. And then I can provide the commission some follow-up images for our next meeting. And then hopefully you can give us a better understanding as to where you're at the next meeting on the 9th, if you're available, to let us know where you stand with the restoration mitigation.
yeah, that's good. I mean, the data, I've been kind of waiting from the wetland scientist because he was sick as well. It's going around. I had walking pneumonia, I think, for a couple of weeks. It was
Oh.
brutal. But he actually, while I'm in this hearing, just sent me the data forms and his report and everything. So the last step will now be the landscape architect working with me to kind of finish off the plans.
All right, so we're kind of looking at a continuation till the 9th then.
Well, we have to anyway, because there's no
There's no number.
file number.
Right, but I mean, there's got to be a lot of stuff put in place before.
Yeah, the meeting is on the 9th. Is that the meeting date? I don't
Yes.
realistically, I doubt that's realistic that I'm going to be able to engage someone this quickly, get them to do the design, get our plans revised. If you want to put me on the agenda, just in case I can provide like an update for the board.
Mhm.
Or if you want to provide me an update where you stand before the 9th,
Sure.
we can continue it to the 9th, and then if you want to request a continuance, you can do so in an email.
Perfect. That sounds like a reasonable plan.
Okay,
And then hopefully for your subsequent meeting, we'll have something for hopefully the board to vote on.
I hope you have something ready for January.
all right, so unless there are further questions, I think we can consider that motion.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for file number unknown, 280 West Main Street. To
Second.
12/9.
So we have a motion by Lisa, seconded by Dan for continuation of this hearing. Tama, Lisa, and Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And Paxton, Dan, and Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right.
And I'll throw in an aye. So the motion carries. So thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
You bet.
You too.
We have a request for an extension, I believe, of an.
They requested a continuance. Claire can't make the meeting, so.
Okay. So,
John, when was that ORAD issued?
this is actually not just an ORAD, right? This is an actual development, isn't it?
No, this was an ORAD, and this was about to expire, so they sent in the request information. That way, for instance, it doesn't lapse, and the criteria is that as long as they submit the request during the valid extension period or the valid period, the commission is able to grant an extension off of that. So it's before it expires. I think it was supposed to expire the end of this month or beginning of next month.
Okay.
She's got quite a bit going on, but she just wanted to get this request in. She says that, and she also wants to walk the flags with me, but she wasn't able to do that in this time frame.
All right. So this is separate from what else is going on that.
This is completely separate. This is across the street.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. I misunderstood that.
So they don't want us to vote to extend it right now?
Well, they would like an extension. I told her that I want to make sure the flags are still up before we provide an extension.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
I just
does
wanna
that
make sure-
mean we continue this and then when that's
Well, there's nothing to continue. We just don't take a vote
Oh,
until the next.
you
until
don't take
John
a vote
tells
till the
us.
next
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
yes.
But the clock is technically you have 30 days prior to the expiration to get your request in. So
And
I
they
think
have
she
the
was a
request
little,
in.
yeah, she was a little
So-
worried that we weren't going to approve it within probably 30 days. But the
Yes.
request is in. I'm fine with it.
And also, I looked it up. It expires December 21st, 2024. So we're good.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
we're still good.
So we'll bring that up next time then. And item 5 is put off as well.
Yep.
That's correct.
And anything else?
So we received a new project, which hopefully everybody's happy about. Mass DOT submitted a notice of intent application for the new light that's going over near Chartley Pond area, north and south Worcester. I know, Mark, you're really excited about that. I just saw you
I'm
give a little
thrilled about
glee.
it. Yeah, I hate
give a
that
little glee
intersection.
there. I know Joe's very excited about that.
Well, I'm also curious to see how they pull it off, but
I'm very curious. Saw the plans. Yeah,
It is
They're
a bit of a,
difficult plans to read, definitely.
they're let's just say, Lisa, they're Mass DOT plans.
They should be clear as a bell. See, I'm gonna have to recuse though.
Are you?
Oh yeah, I'm working
You're
on the
working for them?
bridges. I'm working on Cape Cod bridges and Alston.
Okay.
well,
All right.
So,
I may have to recuse because I go through that intersection.
I think we might all have to recuse.
no, usually the
John,
plans
is
are
that,
pretty clear. But
or anyone, is that triangle of land there? Is that in private ownership?
Which triangle of land, Dan?
Or does anyone own it? The one that has I don't know what it is. Is it a gas station? Is it
No, it's Rustic Fire. That's been restored. That somebody
Oh,
owns.
yeah.
That. Yeah.
That's what it's called? Rustic Fire?
yeah,
Rustic Fire Control, I think it is the company that uses that building now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
hey, not for anything. Is there any reason why our website shows Julian and I? It shows our terms are up in 2024.
Oh, that's bad. Very bad.
Means I got
whoever-
another month. I think that was supposed to be updated, right?
I
Were
can
we
double-
swo-
I
were we
can double
sworn
check
in
with the
this
town
year?
clerk.
You guys both
Thank
got
you, Laura.
letters and you both,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got sworn in.
Now,
yeah.
Were
You
these
want to send
letters
me that
from-
proof? I'll send it over to the people that are in charge.
Were
Yeah,
these
no, it's
letters
just
from
like, huh.
Washington? A part
that-
of the craziness to come?
I'll have to talk to that conservation director to update that website.
All right, you do that. I said, wow, I only have 30 days left. This is fantastic.
Speaking of the website, I mean, I've only used it, well, I've used it multiple times recently, but trying to find the phone numbers of the various departments is almost impossible. And I don't know why that is. I think I found it by accident once
Wow.
and have never found it since. So I don't know if that is something that can ever be improved upon, but I'm sure I'm not the only one looking for phone numbers. of town.
Usually it's by department. If you hit department, it
If
gives
you
a
go to
whole
the
list.
department, the phone numbers are not there.
Really?
They're
Most-
normally all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, sometimes they're in the banner at the bottom.
Well,
That's weird.
I gotta
mean,
look at this up right now.
Yeah, share
I-
screen, John. Come on now.
I'm assuming I haven't gotten that demented recently, but I'm considering myself at least an average user, and I couldn't find it. So there may be an ergonomics issue there.
So you just scroll down a little bit and it's staff contacts. And my phone number's there, my direct line, which I've been trying to take off.
No, you're on conservation.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
what were you trying to look up, Julian?
I was looking up building inspector or any other department, and it's just not there.
Hmm.
But
The phone number, if you go to contacts directory,
all right, I'll have to check this out. But anyway, there's no point taking up people's times on my inability to use that website.
yeah, if you click the top page of the banner, it says government. You click that and you can find the phone number of anybody's department.
Should I try that nationally? See what happens.
You can try it right now if you want.
I mean, the Chinese have done very well, apparently, from what I'm reading.
But that's really all I have. Nothing major. Got a few small scale projects going on, but nothing crazy. It's been kind of nice as we haven't had a lot of projects, which is good. Been trying to put in a couple proposals for some stormwater improvement things in town before the end of the year. Let's see what else. That's really it. I think that I can divulge to the commission. I'm looking for well, obviously that land donation is going to help us out immensely for the flood storage potential and flood resiliency. So that's good. And yeah, I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving.
Same to
You
you.
too, John.
Just quick question: where is the commission, conservation commission office in the new building?
Do you want to come take a visit?
Yeah, I'll just see for myself. But
I
Okay.
haven't been
So,
there
It's
either.
over,
it's a big
it's over
building.
Chartley, Paxton. I'll give you the directions.
So if you head over to 70 East Main Street, it's the building behind that, and there's a sign, but there's an active parking lot being constructed, and the entrance is actually between the old town hall and the police station. So there isn't really a sign that says town hall this way. It's like maybe about this big, and it's very difficult for people to find. I'm hoping they can find a solution for that once everything's complete.
It's a big yellow building near the subway on Mansfield Ave.
Don't confuse them, Dan.
Don't tell them that it's the Council of Aging community building. It's not right, Dan.
If you find town hall, inside town hall signage is very good.
Yeah.
But getting to town hall, that's another matter.
If you go up
the
the
el-
elevator, we're right on the right.
But if you do take the elevator, it's got about 10 buttons. And I think the one you want is about the third from the bottom. So
No, you just take the stairs. Just
No, you
that's
just
not a joke.
Paxton, you just follow the trail of mud up the stairs and you'll find my office, okay?
There you go.
all right.
All right. Well, like I said, I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving.
Too.
Too.
And we'll
Happy
see you on the 9th.
Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Nathan,
John,
happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
I have a work conflict on the 9th. I'm not going to be here.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'm always here.
Oh,
So-
and is everybody okay with canceling the 23rd? I forgot to ask that too. I made a suggestion.
Yes, that, because it would be, yeah, it's gonna be a mess for everybody. So should I throw out this printout? Cause it's gonna change for the Palmer thing.
I hope it doesn't change a lot, but obviously they're going to submit new plans.
All right.
So it might change slightly
Mm.
with some additional information on there with conditions. But if anybody wants to add potential conditions or make suggestions, feel free to do so, and I can incorporate those into the unique golf course that we have in front of us.
All right.
All right, take care, everyone.
Take
You
care.
bet.
You too, John.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.